All right, in today's video, I'm going to take you down to the river and I'm going to show you everything that I do and use to find bad boys like that. All right, we're back out here today. Today's a special video. I'm going to do a little refresher of how and where to find artifacts. We did one last year. I'm going to try to make this a once a year thing, just to keep it updated there in the video library. But we're going to show you how we get in, where we go, and what we do, and how we're so successful finding what we find. So we're going to get to the other side of the river here, and we'll let you know when we find something good. All right, here's the big red boat. We're on the other side of the river now. Now, the first thing I would tell you is to get a kayak, because there's lots of places you could walk in and hunt, but you're gonna get ate up with poison ivy this time of year. And a lot of places are just hard, to get to. So a kayak's gonna open you up. There's a few places that I can only get in by kayak because the terrain's just so treacherous, and it's really, for me, opened up a lot of avenues for finding stuff. Some of my spots that I get in the kayak are obviously a lot better than spots I could walk in, because a lot of those are shared spots, easy access, a lot of people get into them. So we're gonna float on down through here and see if we can't find what looks like a good spot to start looking around. Alrighty, you see those big rocks up there? Those are fire rocks. Not all of them down here are fire rocks, but you find a spot that's got good fist size to double fist size rocks, that is a chance that that's an old fire pit. And then you can look around, you can start finding flakes and artifacts in there. Now you could tell most of them, I don't know if those have been used or not, but most of them have what look like burn marks. They'll be kind of like a brownish red, and they'll be split in half. A lot of it's sandstone. I've seen some granite. There's different kinds of rocks, but a lot of it's usually just some type of sandstone, it seems like, that they'll stack around the fires. Some type of basalt rock sometimes, and they'll just pop in half and break into pieces. You'll see that charred remains, and you'll know that's fire rock falling out of the hillside. Alrighty, we weren't here very long. Right below where I was talking about that fire rock, that's a piece of worked rock right there. You're almost kind of like fluted it. It's not finished anything, but it's been worked on. So we're on the board already. The good thing about the high river, pretty much anywhere is good to look as long as you can get in. We got us a little piece of flint there. Now these little kind of like rocky beaches, they're good places to look. You look right here, this is actually a worked piece, worked all the way around. A lot of this stuff just washes out of the hillside. Like up there is probably going to be used for fire rock, or was used for fire rock, and all that falls out. There's a lot of modern stuff too. You got to learn to differentiate. Like some of these big broke pieces of rock, not all of them, but quite a few of them are brought in. There's a railroad above us, and they're brought in to shore up the hillside. So they can get hard looking in here sometimes. But if you train your eye to find the indicators, then you'll start finding stuff. Okay, so we talked about the fired rock for a little while, and the next thing I want to move on to is, once you get somewhere that you think there's old fire pits, or you see lots of rocks on the ground, start looking for flint. It looks a lot different than the rest of the rock. It has a little bit of a shine to it when it's out of the water. Usually a lot smoother looking, and then you can just see the working on that. Kind of. Alrighty, while we're in here looking around, I'll tell you about another tool that I use, and it's not one everybody uses, but it's one I enjoy because I like to watch the water levels. There's actually an app on Apple and Android called River app. And it will post most of the streams in the bigger streams in the world, actually, and how they're fluctuating, going up and down. And you could just go right on the App Store and buy that for free. Now, they do have some paid stuff in there. I actually went ahead and got the lifetime for like, I think it was 15 bucks, and it will forecast the river a little bit for me, and it's actually pretty accurate. Yeah, for me, it was a good spin because I use it all the time. I probably look at River app on a slow day a dozen times a day. And it helps me gauge whether or not I want to get out on the streams or not, because there's a certain point where getting out here in the kayak is no man's land. And if I do want to go out, maybe I'm going to go somewhere I can walk in, or maybe it's just too high and it's getting pretty close to being flooded. I don't want to go in at all. And then there's times too where the water's been the same for a while and it goes up maybe a foot or two. It comes back down real quick. I like to keep an eye on that because those are the times you get in here and stuff's washed out. And you can be the first person in if you watch that. So give that a try if you want. It's called River app and it is free. All right, another rule of mine. Have you some fun. Don't get married to just finding artifacts. You'll come down, you'll find cool things that aren't artifacts, like that horseshoe. You can take things like that home too. I find old bottles. I found tackle down here. If you watch one of our last videos, we actually found a whole tackle box right here in the same very spot. So always cool stuff to be found that aren't artifacts too. So try to open your mind up and don't be so strict on yourself. Alrighty, sometimes you get in spots somewhere where you got permission and you'll have a good chance to do what we're about to do, and that's a little bit of sifting. Now sifting, what you do is you find a good spot like this where that fallout is, and you'll scoop up the sand and you'll sift it out in the water and see if you find anything in it. Now in West Virginia you can sift. Kentucky, I think you're allowed to surface hunt. Ohio, you're allowed to surface hunt. So make sure you're following the rules of where you're at. Get permission before you do this. Now, I drove a truck for years, and I've got hundreds of spots and fields and along the river where I'm allowed to do this. So until you get your permission, do not try this at home. But we're gonna do a little bit and see if we can't uncover anything. Right in here's a good spot. That is washout from where the rivers rose or the rains hit it hard. And in these spots is where artifacts will fall. Now, we haven't found anything in here yet, but be on the lookout for little slips like that, because those are gold mines. You can see there's fire rock in here too. Makes it a real good place to look. So it might not light up today, but you never know. The waves hit it for a few days and we come back in here and there'll be 2 or 3 artifacts laying out. Alright, so basically you can see through here, we just kind of sifted the sand that's washed in. And what you do is you get it in here and just get it up and down. Just get the sand and what little mud you got in there. And then you'll look through the rest for artifacts. And if you don't find anything, you try again. So we're gonna take a look through this off camera and see if we got anything good. Well, we didn't find anything in that sift, but that's the name of the game sometimes. You win some, you lose some. We'll come in here, we'll put 10 sifts in, and 99% of the time we will find something. So that's just the first sift. We'll do a few more before we head out. We'll find a couple other good spots. I got one more spot down the river that I can look. I got to pass up a bunch of places where not really allowed to be in, and that's the name of the game. When you're not allowed somewhere, you don't go in somewhere. So we will respect that property, and when we're done in here, we'll go on to the next one where we're allowed to, and we'll see what we can find. All right, another place people don't look but actually can be very good is these rocked in places where lots of cement's been thrown in. Now, a lot of guys will tell you that nothing falls out of there still, or it's not worth looking. And sometimes it's hard to find stuff in those places. But I'd say an 1/8 to 1/4 of my finds have been found in what other people would consider no man's land, in places they wouldn't really look. And I used to too when I was new. And then I started just kind of peeling my eyes a little harder and find lots of good stuff. I found Madison points, found my first drill, and a couple other things off the top of my head I can't really remember I found in rocked in areas like that. So don't overlook places like that if you got permission to look. They can be great places. Surface hunt them. See if you can't find something. Usually you can. Another rule: if you have a spot that's been hunted a lot, ask yourself, has it rained? Has the water gone up or down? Has anyone been in there a while? And if not, go back and give that place another once over. You will find something. Even if it's just pottery shards or flint shards, you'll still find something. Right there's a new pottery shard. And right before we started the video, I found what might be a utilized flake. Like a little rough blade. So the water's gone up significantly in here and back down. And it's been a minute since we've been in here. So we'll do one surface hunt. And then if we don't find anything good, we might do a little bit of sifting in here. So we'll walk around and we'll see what we find. Alrighty, right in there is the reason why there's so many points in here. The hill's fallen out over the years. They put some fill in, but there's not much. But this place will light up every time it floods because this hill is exposed. So that's why we come in here. There's a lot of dead wood in there, makes it hard to look there. But next flood might wash all that out, who knows. Sometimes the water raises high enough, clears everything out, and you come in and you got you a whole new spot. And sometimes it stays that way. So, well, we've made some good finds surface hunting. We're gonna do a little bit more. And then we might bust out the sifter and do a few sifts in here, because we always have good luck finding stuff in sifts. So we'll show you what we found surface hunting when we finish up. All right, we saw that busted tip there sitting right on top. We'll put that in with the finds. I'll show you what we got here in a little bit. All right, we haven't found anything crazy. Dig a couple nice pieces of pottery and a handful of flint. And we're going to come in here in a minute and we're going to sift all this and see how we do. I got another spot over there off to the left I'd like to sift. That might have been used there, cracked in half. We're going to start over here and do a little bit of sift and see what we find, and we'll come over here and we'll knock some of this out. All right, I'm going to sit right in here and do a little sift and see if we can't find anything. I found a lot of Madison points and board ancients in here. So we'll just kind of sift right through here where the water's hitting and see what we can find. All right, we got that sift. And now you just take it. Throw the big stuff out, any big piece of mud you find. Glass, the biggest rocks. And then sift it a little more. Once you do that, you got a pile to look through. We'll do the dirty work off camera, finish it, and then we'll show you what we got. All right, folks, we haven't even fully sifted yet. I don't know if you could see it or not, but we got us a little, looks like a miniature Adena blade almost. Tip's busted off of it, but it's in good shape. So that sift right there is a winner. We haven't even finished. We're gonna keep looking through it. All right, we finished that sift up. It didn't have too much more else in there, just some flint, but that was a fruitful one there. We got that nice little bad boy. It's a good looking little blade. Just wish it was whole, but a win's a win. We're gonna go down here and we're gonna do a little bit more sifting down here, just a little bit farther. Here's another pro tip. When the boats go by, that's good for the shore. It'll rewash stuff. Somewhere you've already surface hunted, you could look again. So we might keep our eyes peeled before we start digging in here. Something could have come uncovered. That's what we found sifting in here where I told you I was going to around these blocks. One of them pieces might be a broke off blade, I'm not sure. But that's what we found. We're going to do a few more sifts in here, and then we'll show you what we found using the tools and skills we taught today. Another thing I wanted to teach is that sometimes your sifting spots aren't just there, they're out here. This spot goes out through there about 30 feet and then it gets maybe 3 foot deep. So we took right in here about 5 feet out to 8 feet out, and we got a sift there. I see at least 3 worked pieces in it without even moving anything. So we're gonna go through it and see what we can find. Always remember that your sights do extend out into the water though, and if you can, do a little bit of sifting out there. All right, here's everything from that sift just now. A couple work pieces, that might have been a tool. I don't know what that is. It feels like flint, but it's got concretions in it. But it looks like it's been worked on both sides going up that way. Weird. We did find that. I think that's part of a tool. Like a scraper. Just a couple more pieces of flint. That one's kind of translucent on the tip. I don't know if that was a tool or not. It looks kind of worked, but that's a whatever. I'm gonna put it over here. And then we found that busted Madison bottom, or Fort Ancient bottom. I'm not too sure which one it is. So 2 pieces there, I'm pretty sure, used. And then a bunch of flint out in the middle of the river there. So always remember to do a little bit of sifting when you can out there in the water if you get a good rock bed like I do. All right, that last sift didn't turn anything up, but that's the way it goes. Put everything up in here. We got one last thing we're gonna do before we head out of here today. All right, before we go, let's start throw water back up on the beach. We find a lot of stuff this way. We'll do one last surface hunt and then we go. The last time we were in here, my boy found a 3-inch long spear point, maybe a lost lake. I'm not too sure what kind of point it was, but he found it by us doing this. So we'll go over the beach where we dug and looked, hit it with a little water and look at one more time and then head out of here. All right, we didn't get the treasure trove I thought we would. We dug a little piece of flint, and this piece here is actually a little work busted tip. So that's not too bad of a find. And those are the kinds of things you can uncover just throwing water back up on the beach before you leave. After surface hunting, digging, anything. Some of this stuff is just barely under the sand, and this sand never stays. The river comes up or the boats drive by and they wash stuff out all the time. I've come back up through before after boats have come through a lot and found good points without doing anything but walking and paying attention. So that paid off. Alrighty, we did one more look over there where I had my shovel, and we found that little point there with some of that flint. So we're gonna call it a day. That was a pretty good hunt. We got a lot of fawns, and I showed you just about everything I do when I'm out. So pretty good show. I'm glad we found as much as we did. Goes to show if you look well, look right, find the right spot and get the right tools like these bad boys here, kayak and a sifter, and you have a good set of eyes on you, you can find lots of good stuff. So we will take a look at everything we got when we get back. All right, here's what our arrowhead hunting skills found us tonight. That's a busted off crude point. There's the bottom to a Madison or a Ford Ancient. I'm not too sure, probably just a little Madison point. There's the top to one. You can see the working on it there. Those little blades, I think it's a Ford Ancient or an Adena blade. Probably Ford Ancient, we find a lot of that stuff in there. Little thumb scraper. The nicer ones that I've found. And then we found that little point there hole right as we were getting ready to leave. So if you do all the things we showed you in the video and really learn real well where your decent spots are and how to find stuff where you're at, you'll be able to find stuff like this too. So we appreciate everybody watching. Have a good one.